You know that sound, right? That quick little electronic beep. It's the sound that says, yep, you're good, the door's gonna open, you're in. It's such a tiny, everyday moment that we honestly don't even think about it. But what is really going on behind that familiar beep? Well, let's dive in.
That one little sound. It's the final chapter in a pretty amazing story. It's a story that actually connects World War II military tech to the constant tug-of-war we see today between making things easy and keeping things secure.
So for this explainer, we're going to pull back the curtain on that split second. We're going to look at the pretty shocking origins of your keycard, figure out how it actually works, and see where this everyday piece of tech is heading next.
To really get your office keycard, we have to go way back. And not to some tech lab in Silicon Valley, but to the skies over Europe during the Second World War.
Okay, get this. What you're looking at is basically the great-grandfather of the modern keycard. During the war, the British developed a system called Identify Friend or Foe, or IFF. It was a way for radar operators to tell Allied planes from enemy ones. A friendly plane would get hit with a radio signal and automatically send a signal back saying, hey, I'm one of the good guys. That basic idea, a remote, radio-based handshake, is the absolute foundation of that plastic card in your wallet.
So how in the world did we get from a bomber to a Best Western? Well, the big leap happened in the 1970s. After the singer Connie Francis was tragically attacked in her hotel room, the whole industry had a wake-up call that old-fashioned metal keys were a massive security risk. This pushed a Norwegian inventor named Tor Sornes to create the very first recodable keycard lock. His system used a plastic card with a pattern of 32 holes, which gave it something like 4.2 billion possible combinations. It was a game changer.
All right, so that's the history. Now let's get into the nitty-gritty. How did that early invention turn into the slick systems we tap every day? Let's break down the magic of that little interaction.
You can think of the whole system as having three main players. First, you've got the tag. That's the little chip and antenna hidden inside your card. Second, there's the reader, the box on the wall. And third, you have the access control server. That's the brain of the whole operation, usually tucked away in a server room somewhere.
So how do these three parts actually talk to each other? Well, here's the cool part. Your card has no battery. It's completely passive. When you bring it close to the reader is constantly putting out this little electromagnetic field. That field gives the chip in your card just enough of a jolt of power to wake up and shout its unique ID number back to the reader. Now, the reader isn't the smart one here. It just catches that ID and passes it along to the server. The server then does the real work. It asks, is this ID allowed to open this door at this exact time? If the answer is yes, boom, it sends the unlock command. And all of that happens in the blink of an eye. And what does that unlock command do? It talks to the actual lock on the door. A lot of the time, it's an electromagnetic lock, just like this one. It's basically a super strong magnet holding the door shut. When the server gives the green light, it just cuts the power to that magnet for a few seconds. The magnetic force releases and the door is free to open.
Of course, not all access cards are built the same. You've got the old-school magnetic stripe cards. They're cheap, but they wear out pretty easily and, honestly, they're a piece of cake to copy. Then you have the proximity or RFID cards we've been talking about. They're kind of the industry standard now. Durable, contactless, and way more secure. And then at the very top, you have smart cards. These things have tiny microprocessors inside that can handle some serious encryption, making them incredibly tough to clone. But they're also the most expensive.
But here's where the story takes a really modern turn. Today, these systems are doing so much more than just opening doors. Every single beep is a data point. And for businesses today, that data is pure gold.
You know, you'd think security would be the #1 reason for these systems, but check this out. A recent survey found that for over 3/4 of companies, the main use is now occupancy tracking. They're analyzing who's in the building and when to make huge decisions about real estate, hybrid work schedules, and even how often the bathrooms need to be cleaned. Only about 20% are using the data just for security anymore.
And when you look at it, this data-driven approach has massive benefits. You get a perfect, unfudgeable audit trail of who went where and when. You can give a cleaning crew access to only certain floors and only between 10 p.m. and 2 a.m. If someone loses their card, you can kill its access instantly. Can't do that with a metal key. You can even use the data to run the building smarter, like turning down the AC in empty wings to save a ton of money.
So, this all sounds incredibly efficient, incredibly powerful. But there's a flip side. The very same wireless technology that makes these systems so convenient also opens up some pretty serious security holes. And the stakes here are, well, they're huge. According to recent data, the global average cost of a single data breach is almost $5 million. And a huge number of those breaches start with some kind of unauthorized physical access.
The system's biggest advantage, the fact that it's wireless, is also its biggest Achilles heel. As security researchers from IEEE put it, anytime you're transmitting information through the air, it's vulnerable. Someone could be listening in, they could tamper with it. That signal is just out there for the taking. This diagram shows all the different ways a system can be attacked. On one side, you've got the physical stuff, things like messing with the reader on the wall or just straight up cloning a card. On the other side, you've got the digital attacks, snooping on the network traffic between the reader and the server, or even injecting malware into the system. So let's look at 3 of the most common ways this goes wrong. First, cloning. This is a huge one, especially for older, unencrypted cards. You can buy a device online for cheap that can copy one in seconds. Then there's the simplest hack of all, tailgating. That's just when someone holds the door for you and an unauthorized person slips in right behind. It's a human problem, not a tech one. And then you have the really sophisticated stuff, like using a malicious RFID card to actually attack the back-end software when it gets scanned.
So with all these risks in mind, where is this technology headed? Well, the answer is probably sitting in your pocket as we speak, because that physical plastic card, it's starting to fade away.
The future is all about everything being smarter and more connected. Your smartphone is becoming your key, using the same NFC tech you use for mobile payments. For really secure areas, biometrics like fingerprint or face scans are becoming standard. The management is all moving to the cloud, so an admin in New York can grant access to an office in Tokyo. And AI is getting involved, learning the normal rhythm of a building and flagging things that seem weird, like an employee's card being used at 3 in the morning when they're strictly a 9-to-5er.
Which brings us to a final thought. That beep is moving from a dumb piece of plastic to the single device that holds our entire digital lives. Now, there's no question that's more convenient, but it also means concentrating a staggering amount of our personal data and access in one single, losable, hackable device. So as we move forward, the big question is the same one we've been grappling with all along. How do we strike the right balance between that amazing convenience and the very real need for security?